What is considered a fatal wound? Being shot in the head? Naturally. Having your heart ripped out? Of course. What about being deprived of oxygen for too long? Yes. Of course, my question may seem nonsensical if you apply it literally, but think about this more theoretically. Isn't a fatal wound something that just stops you from living? It is, isn't it? Okay, then consider what it means to live. What does living entail? You can argue the logistics of the definition of living, but ultimately, it is simply just being alive, isn't it? Take, for example, a person who inexplicably cannot control their life. They are a mere passenger of their empty void of a life with nothing to long for. They live without thinking, moving only in the way that they were taught. They're completely unaware of their incompetence and the futility of their lives, but even so, they cannot bring themselves to end it all. They long for reprieve, but none is given. The world has forsaken and forgotten them, and they are doomed to live their monotonous lives without breaking the cycle. They are very much alive in the literal sense, aren't they? But the question here is if you can actually consider them alive. Probably not. As an empty shell bound to their pointless lives, are they truly living? I'd go as far as to say that they are truly dead. Just like the person without a head. Just like the person without a heart, and just like the person who is deprived oxygen, they are all indeed fatally wounded. Then what does this mean? That you can be perfectly dead while being technically alive? Yes, this conclusion is logically sound if we think about it this way, but if this is the case, then imagine for an instance a person who looks into the mirror but sees nothing. No image, no reflection. It is empty with absolutely nothing to look at. Nothing to look back at them. In place of this utter void, they naturally create something in its place. Something that they can see. Something that is tangible to that person. Something that fills the emptiness of that void. Even if there is something that now appears to be tangible, the relationship naturally cannot sustain itself. It is far too contradictory. No matter how perfect a replica of the imaginary ceases to be the actual thing. The false relationship might sustain itself for a while, maybe, but ultimately, there is no sense of actuality, no sense of respect, no acknowledgement, and above all else, no real admiration. For the person in question, the mere image, the facade, becomes the focus, the image, the sole priority. The real importance of the mere images become nothing more than a goal. Thus, while they have something tangible to look at and look back at them, it will never be tangible. Delusional as they may seem, they will desperately attempt to reach out and touch the mere image. How can you touch something if nothing exists? You can't, and this is the depressing truth. You can only reach out and touch what is allowed to exist. What they allowed to exist was never allowed by anyone else. Once they realize their own nonsensical facade, they will feel the hollow, scattering feeling of emptiness and worthlessness. At that moment, the world would be broken for them. Quite literally, the world would be over for them.